Hello, it's been a while. So the topic today is PTSD, post-traumatic stress symptoms, not really disorder. Just want to talk about like triggers, right? So triggers are automatic, and it's a reaction that you get when something reminds your body or one of your senses of something that happened. It could be something physically happening, it could be something emotional, it could be something internal or external. So it could be like a smell or a sound or something you see, or even just something you're thinking of or feeling. And then that triggers a natural, or what seems to be like a natural reaction to you. So it kind of brings you back to like that moment when the trauma was happening. So, one thing that I'm finding may be helpful is to kind of bring yourself back to the moment and say, like for me, one thing that triggers me is like certain sounds or things like that, right? So I'll say to myself, I'll tell myself what that sound actually is, because, I'm safe now, and sometimes like our bodies just get used to reacting in a certain way when we hear things, when we see things, and when we think things. So yeah, I have to try to remind myself that I'm safe. So I would encourage you guys to do some self-talk. It's not easy, and it gets exhausting sometimes, and I really do have to catch it because sometimes I don't even realize that I'm reacting to something. But I do have certain natural reactions to things that other people would find a natural reaction. But that's just the way it is. So, it's not like not to say there's nothing I can do about it, because I'm learning certain things. But, triggers, they'll come and go. But try to, combat it with positive thinking, with and not just like thinking happy thoughts like Peter Pan says, think happy thoughts and you'll fly away. Is not that simple. Sometimes you have to be very firm with yourself and say, I am not in that situation, or I am not the same person. I'm not going to make the same decision. The same thing is not happening to me right now. So you have to really be clear and firm with yourself. And then, like, from a spiritual perspective, you would say, rebuking certain things, rebuking the fear, tearing down that stronghold in your mind, capturing every thought, taking every thought captive, setting your mind on things above. It's definitely a struggle sometimes. And I would also say know your limits, because I know that for me, sometimes I need a little extra comfort, and I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to feel triggered, but sometimes it's helpful when I put myself in a situation that may potentially trigger me, because, and I'm not saying it's like if your trigger is like alcohol, I'm not saying like go to a bar or something, but if there are certain things that you really can't avoid, because they're in your life anyway, and you try to avoid it so you don't get triggered. Sometimes what I find helpful is to kind of like just go there, just not worry about what might trigger me, and then you kind of like take it as it comes. And in doing that, I can kind of like remind myself, right? So yes, I may experience like a panic attack when I'm in the midst of, one of my triggers, but guess what? It goes away. Yes, I may start to feel scared, or I may want to cry or get angry, but it goes away. The noises that trigger me, they go away. The, sights, the smells, whatever, your triggers, they'll come and pass. That being said, also, if you do notice that you can't seem to let go of those triggers, like if, say, something happened, and the thing is, triggers will come like in a second, and it'll be like one split second, one thought, one noise, one smell, something like that. And then it's frustrating when someone else is part of that trigger. So like someone making noise for a split second will trigger me, and it bothers me because it's like that's not fair because then I'm anxious for much longer. But, you know, I'm getting much better at it, but I want to encourage you, if you notice that certain things trigger you for too long, and you know how long too long is, but if you notice that you're finding it really hard to overcome it in the moment, go get some help. You know, call a crisis hotline, information line like NYC Well. You know, reach out to a friend or a pastor or a leader, and not someone that's just gonna, like, coddle you, you know, and also not someone that's going to just tell you, you know, not someone that's going to tell you what you want to hear, and not someone that's just going to tell you, like, be really hard on you. But go to people who have experience with mental health. Go to people that, like, friends of yours that may have experience with trauma. And, you know, honestly, sometimes you need to work through it in therapy or life coaching or, you know, psychiatry if it's something is really severe or it's been going on for a long time or it's very fresh. You know, maybe you need some medication to get through it for the time being. Don't be ashamed. You know, it's not like it's something that you can really completely handle or completely, like, control. You know, you learn to control certain things, but mostly you just learn to adapt, because my triggers may always be there. And that's something that's hard to struggle with, or hard to swallow, you know, that certain things may still trigger me from time to time. You know, when we go through things, it's like then we start feeling ashamed of those things. But it's, you know, I didn't choose those things. Things happen. And now I didn't choose those things to have happened, and I didn't choose the triggers. So what should I be ashamed of? You know? So I have to kind of remind myself of that. Anyway, hope that encourages someone, and reach out if you need to. Bye.